So Mondo, we're here at a high place. You can see it right behind us, folks. And it's amazing. All these places that we go to, for the most part, they're always on a high place. Like yesterday, we were at the Stone Mound, which was, and this was incredible. I've never been there before. And we had to get, I'd like to thank Coach Dave Dobbenmeyer, because he lives basically right across the street from the owner, Steve. And Steve Trickle allowed us to go up on top of this stone mound. And apparently, depending on who you talk to, it was about 50 feet high. It might have been higher. Some people place it at 80 feet, all out of stone. There was a burial that was found there. There's also this very enigmatic artifact called the Nork Holy Stones. Mondo, when we were there, what were your thoughts as you were, because it's all in ruin and it's all completely overgrown. What were your thoughts?
I mean, to me, it's pretty overwhelming in the sense of its size and scope, especially even like here, you know, in the sense of the comparison of the outer boundaries. And there, you know, you have, 15 or 16 outer mounds, which you didn't get to see. But this particular thing was, at its original, being only one of the few stone mounds, tremendous. I mean, this is a lot of work, a lot of effort. I mean, it was just awesome.
Yeah, I mean, to think that a group of hunter-gatherers are going to get all these stones. Most of them are fairly small, but see, here's the deal. We don't know what it really looked like. We just got some artist impressions of it. So were these stones the stones that were sort of rejected? It was used to show up and create what is now Buckeye Lake. So I just find it amazing. And apparently, depending on who you talk to, once again, it's either 10,000 wagon loads or 25,000 wagon loads. So which is it really? And of course, we really don't know. So what's amazing about the stone mound, it's in a high place, and according to the owner who owns it now, in the wintertime when all the foliage, because we were there in midsummer, and it's all completely overgrown, so you have no vista. But apparently in the wintertime, what we get is this incredible overview of different mounds in the area, and that is so deliberate. And I want to get into something. We had a woman that came in, Anita Charlotte, who was talking about her opinion of the Nork Holy Stones, and we went around and around on this, and we'll be getting more into that, of course, in the DVD, which will be coming on the trail, probably number 9, but we'll see. We have so much footage, and now we're getting more. Mondo, what are your thoughts on the so-called Nork Holy Stones? Give us a give us the backstory on that, and where they came from.
The backstory is that in 1860, it was discovered on this particular site, and it's got Hebrew, and it's got a picture. It says Moses very clearly in Hebrew on the top with a kind of a rendering of Moses there, and then it has the 10 Commandments that begin and make its way all around the backside.
They spiral.
It spirals around, it comes on the other side, and then there's another artifact that has it says two things. They call it the keystone. It's in Hebrew. It says, the Word of God, and then it says the Torah of God. So the question is, what we discussed is the Hebrew is very, very good. It's got some grammatic anomalies to it. It also has some other letters that don't belong, that are just completely random. People still don't know where these particulars come from. So the question is it a forgery? Is it a fraud? And and there's some great scholars that say no. They think that this is a very unique find, that it's true. Others, that the typical conventional right now is that it's a fraud.
It's a fraud.
And so they just throw it out. But again, there's some other, like Cyrus Gordon is a great example, great Orientalist. I mean, he's like a classic. He knows his stuff. And he said he believed, and even as recently as 1991,
that's recent. Modernity,
yeah,
sure, definitely.
He said no, he thinks it's legitimate, right. But
so you've got this push and pull, this tug of war between different ideologies. People, Brad Leopard, I know, who's the state archaeologist, believes that they're a forgery. He spent a lot of time sort of deconstructing them. He believes they're a forgery. When we've talked about this, also with our colleague Brent Height, who's with us here, as well as Fritz Zimmerman and other people. So it's this is quite an undertaking for us filming, and we've got a lot of great footage, a lot of great interviews. But if these are Nephilim sites, it begs the question, what the heck is this artifact doing in this stone mound? And by the way, folks, this stone mound was on a high place, the highest place in the county. Just incredible. So are these gateways, are these portals? That's what they are, in my opinion. If these are Nephilim sites, why would you have the Decalogue stone, the 10 Commandments, basically buried with this? So I have a problem with it. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, same thing. I mean, it's what we're seeing there is we're taking elevations, we're taking measurements, we're looking at other things, we're looking at the astronomy, other things like that. But from that particular site, I-70 just cuts right, I believe it's I-70 anyway.
Yeah, it's very close to it.
It cuts right through right at the center, and it just drops off where they put in the new highway. But from there, what Steve, the owner, was telling us was that you could see all these other high places.
Right.
And so we're pulling up the topography map, and we can see like these triangles that are being made, and it's pretty common. But you know, even this site here, you can tell that this is a high point, especially relative to everything around it.
Everything around, right. And of course, the ancients did this, and modern-day archaeologists, with all due respect to these guys, tell us that the Hopewell built them, but they don't know who the Hopewell were. We also had some very interesting information, which I will not divulge, regarding Ohio and First Nation people, which I just found. Doris was whose First Nation was telling me about this just this morning, so that was amazing. But I want to ask you something. What was it like when you went into the Circle Mound and you saw the Great Circle Mound for the first time? What was your reaction?
It's honestly, when you walk in, it's very cool. You look like there's these berms around you, but what I keep coming back to this is that when you walk in there, it's not overwhelming in one sense, because you're like, okay, I see this. I wouldn't even really know that it was a circle.
Right.
I wouldn't realize this precision. Now, when you walk in, of course, there's the kind of the gates, but the real key, as even here, is when you get above.
Right.
And you come to the point where, again, when you're standing there, even like right now, we're looking at this, we're like, oh, it looks like a little bit here, nothing to see, really.
But the moment you're in the air.
The moment that you're in the air, boom, and the amount of precision, as we talked about with the moats and everything else, and the perfection of comparing that to even the Octagon Mound and the other ratios that we discovering with the moon and the perigee and apogee and all these other astronomical things, you're like, this can really only be truly appreciated from the skies.
I'll leave you with this. We'll leave you with this, folks. And by the way, Mondo, great to have you here. Mondo, of course, is the co-host at Prophecy Watchers, so we kind of stole him for a few days here. But there is a hidden history that's been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world. And I'll close with this. Who is the prince of the power of the air? And why is it always the serpent? And why is it that we can't appreciate any of these places unless we're high up in the air? And then all of a sudden, the Serpent Mound comes into view, the Circle Mound or the Octagon Mound. Thanks so much for watching. Remember, folks, there is a hidden history, and that's why we are on the trail of the Nephilim.